Kia ora, Lara here, and this is a sketch that I've created for my Close to My Heart group, and I'm going to create a layout using this sketch. So I'm using this gorgeous storybook collection by Close to My Heart. It is kind of your castles, your dragons, your knights, your unicorns, all things magical, all things storybook. So this cool paper here is a sort of looks like a colouring in page, and you've got two sides. So one side is sort of a boy side with dragons, with swords and things like that, and the other side is unicorns and rainbows and castles and things like that. So it is quite a cool paper for in the background, and I am just going to use it as a base and following the sketch. Right now I'm just sort of cutting this photo mat. Now this paper isn't part of the storybook collection, it is part of the mix-in. So with the Close to My Heart idea book, each time they put out one of their mini books, so there's one that lasts 3 months, they have a mix-in collection, and this mix-in collection is sort of one that's got spots, it's got stripes, it's got dots, it's got all sorts of things, but they're generally in colours that go nicely with the 3 collections that are in the idea book. So this mix-in collection is the one that came in this idea book. So Storybook is the February feature collection, and it fits beautifully with all sorts of layouts. Now my friend Julie has created some gorgeous pages with this collection that have nothing to do with unicorns and castles and magic stuff and things like that, so I will try and link her Instagram below so that you can have a look at some of those pages and show how versatile this collection can be. So the card that I'm cutting out here is going to form my title, and it is from the Picture My Life cards. So each collection also has a set of Picture My Life cards that can be used to go along with the layouts, or you could do pocket journaling, pocket scrapbooking and things like that. So these cards are pretty good, and in this case I've used it for creating the title. So now I'm just going to add some ink splatters. So the sketch showed some sort of splatters in behind what was some flower embellishments, but I'm not going to use flowers, so you will see how that comes together soon. But all I've done here is squished the ink pad into the lid, and then I've got a water brush, and I am just going to use the ink and the water mix to create sort of the colours for the splattering. So this is a easy way to use some of the exclusive inks that Close to My Heart has. So I think I've used Sundance and Mist are the 2 colours that I've brought in here, just to add a little bit more interest on what's already a very busy patterned paper in the background there. So I'm also going to bring in a little bit of gloss acrylic spray. So these are well clogged, and I'm now just using them sort of to tap a little bit of extra colour in there. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and I have left it to dry now that I've come back to it, and I am going to now stick down the other components that I had already carved up. So this piece is another piece from the Storybook collection. It is it's the stripy piece, and I noticed that I hadn't quite cut the full width of the zip strip off, which is one of the zip strips that I'm using here to tuck down each side. So the sketch sort of had some strips down each side. This could be ribbon, this could be bits of paper here like I've got, it could be scraps of paper, it could be all sorts of things, scallops, all sorts of fun things could tuck down the side there, but I'm just using the zip strips from this collection just sort of to tuck in and add a little bit more interest on either side of that middle strip. So it's kind of got lots of little stars all the way along it, which matches, I think, one of the paper, it's actually the back, there's a whole lot of stars on the back of that stripy piece that I've got there in the centre. So I'm just wrinkling along those edges, just adding a little bit of texture and dimension, just by pulling the sides up towards me and squishing it down a little bit. So you can just see that it just adds another little layer or another little feature piece to what is sitting there. So the photos that I am going to be putting on here do sort of fit with this magical theme. My daughter and I went to, I think it's called Butterfly Creek on our, we were on our way from my other daughter's 21st, and we had a night or a little bit of time in Auckland. So before she caught the plane, she was catching the plane a little bit earlier, we spent a bit of time at Butterfly Creek. The boys ditched us, so this layout's sort of about her choosing to spend that time going somewhere like that rather than not sort of disappearing like the boys did. So it was kind of cool hanging out, and she was a great she was quite willing to be in some photos and things, and these 2 photos are just sort of in one little area of that place where there was sort of some unicorns, and there were even mushrooms and things like that, but I've just pulled 2 of the unicorn photos out from that little part of Butterfly Creek. So created a little bit of a photo mat here. Now the sketch just showed one colour, but there is no reason why you can't add lots of layers, can't add lots of stuff. You don't even need a background. It wouldn't have to necessarily be a photo mat. It could just be a stitched frame. It could be all sorts of things. So it's really up to you how you interpret the sketches and how you make them your own with your own little things that you do to layouts and the features that you have. So just going to stick down those 2 photographs. The tape runner there that I'm using, I was looking for it for quite a while, and I was quite pleased to actually find it when I was in looking for I was looking for my stitching hole maker thing for another layout, and it was quite handy to finally have that back. But I'm just using some foam, 3D foam adhesive here to tuck down the photographs, just so that it'll help sit flatter over those pieces of paper I've sort of texturized in the middle, and a few other bits and pieces. So now I'm just sticking down some of those components. Now this scroll is a sticker from the sticker sheet that comes with this collection. So I have basically used these chipboard shapes, the paper and sticker pack, and I have just pulled in a few other bits and pieces, but you could entirely make the layouts using just these things. So and the stickers are actually pretty cool. You could probably get away with not using these little shapes. So I've decided I'm going to back this little black shape that was part of the chipboard kind of collection that comes with it, and just choosing a few colours there and deciding to go with the star side of the paper, and I'm going to use the star side for the rainbow parts, but I'm just going to use this other mix-in piece for the clouds. So I'm going to just sort of fussy cut around that, and I'll do a little bit of that off camera so you don't have to watch the whole process, or maybe I do make you watch lots of it. So I'm going to just fussy cut around this, and then I'm going to stick the other piece onto the sort of the star paper that was the back. So here I'm going to do that with the liquid glass, and just sort of generally sticking around the outside. I don't need to do all the inside layers because I'm not doing them all individually, but putting it on the edge there, which means less cutting, and trimming around that. So I was thinking earlier that I haven't used cut files for a wee while, so it might be time to start getting a few of those to get a little bit more inspiration. I did notice that Virginia is looking for some design team members, so she has some gorgeous cut files that I can link that below, but yeah, so there's a few design teams out at the moment, and it's been nice to see some friends come on to a few different teams as well. So I'm using some of the sort of the glitter glue stuff here, and just sort of squishing that into the bottom of the clouds. So as it dries, it'll have quite a cool shimmery look to it, but it does take a wee while to dry, so I'm going to have to be quite careful with that. And I am just going to pop that aside while I sort of work on a few other bits and pieces, keeping in mind that I'm going to be popping that rainbow up there into the top sort of right hand side. So I've stuck the unicorn down on the left beside that title, and I'm going to sort of tuck this little heart in there as well. Just sort of the sketch had a cluster down that bottom left and a cluster up the top right. So that's sort of what I'm trying to bring in, and these little asterisks were also part of the black chipboard shapes, or the black chipboard packs. So I am going to sort of place them in those sort of clusters. So for this layer, I don't have the big flowers, I don't have, it's not a floral kind of page. Could have used crowns, could have used different things like that, but I do like sort of the softness of the smallness of these little asterisks or star splashes in here. So I'm just going to pop a few of them in each of the spaces, which is quite handy. It's giving me a bit of time while the kindy glitz, or not kindy glitz, I shouldn't call it that, the stickles dries in that little rainbow in the clouds. And so now I'm just using some of the green Tombow here because I don't need to be super precise with the spaces. I don't need the fine tip of the liquid glass, so I'm just sort of using the Tombow there, just a little piece in the centre of each to stick it down. It's quite sticky, you can see my fingers sort of rubbing there. So now I'm going to have a go at sticking that cloud down, and still not completely dry, but I'm being a little bit impatient, so I'm going to put a little bit of 3D foam on the right hand side of it, the side that's not going to be over the paper, and then I'm going to put a little bit of that Tombow underneath here just to give it something else to rest on, so that when I put it in the page protector it's not going to lift off or pull off. And now I can stick the rest of these little asterisks all the way around in that sort of cluster. They're not kind of as jumbled together or as not as big and bold or dominating perhaps as the flowers were in the sketch, but that's the beauty of sketches. You can twist them, change them, turn them around, upside down, take a piece of it that you want, or do the whole thing as it stands, essentially. So I'm going to add my journaling here onto the scroll. Essentially I'm saying that I appreciated that Alicia took the time to hang out and be a little bit silly as we went around the different exhibits and the different things at Butterfly Creek. So she was planning to have been going up there again a weekend or so ago, but she didn't quite get there. The rain and flooding stopped planes landing at the airport. She was going to take her fiance to have a look around, and she didn't think he'd be very keen, but she was going to give it a go, so that's okay. They didn't get up there due to the rain, but thankfully she had already been, so that's okay. So there's a few little hearts that I'm pulling out here from the stickers as well. So the stickers had all sorts of different little pieces and different things that you can pull out, and that's what I'm using around the edge here. So here's some close-ups of this layout, here with the actual layout, and then some close-ups of it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this and seeing how I've taken that sketch and pulled it into a layout that perhaps looks a little bit different to the sketch but keeps those main elements. So thanks heaps for watching, and if you've enjoyed this I hope you'll subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you.